Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we're going to install a wired shelf for small plants, and it will look something like this. Now, ever since I moved here, I always wanted to find wired shelving for my orchids. I never did. This year, IKEA actually brought wired shelves, so I got myself a bunch of them and I love them. One of the main reasons why I love them is because they are adjustable. Do you see here on the main bars that we do have some connections? Well, you can actually move those connections and you can make the spaces in between the shelves as high or as short as you want. And that's absolutely fantastic because in my wired shelf, I have big shelves or tall shelves, but also tinier shelves for the tinier orchids. So I really like this customizable aspect of the wired shelf. I know many of you, especially in the USA, you have a whole variety of these shelves, and you can also find them on Amazon or other shops. I cannot in this area, so I was really happy that IKEA brought it. And today we are going to install an IKEA one. It is called Omar, and I'm gonna show you how to go about these types of shelves. I'm guessing all of them are pretty much the same. And I do believe these are just so versatile that you can actually use them for any type of orchid or plant, tall or short. Oh, we're also gonna install some LED lights on it because that's a possibility and it's really easy to do so. And before we get started, let me show you what prompted my decision to get another shelf. Yep, these babies over here. I will be using the shelf mainly for African violets, but maybe some mini Phalaenopsis as well. I don't think I will fill the shelf with African violets, so definitely I do have some mini Phals which could use a better setup or a better space. And do you remember that we filmed them last week? Well, they grew ever since then, and they're just squeezing each other, and the shape, you can see it's not gonna be a good one. They have actually sped up growth ever since I repotted them in self-watering. Color has returned, and being that I grew orchids for so long, I wasn't expecting them to grow so fast, but they did. They're way too crowded. I need a new space for them. So that said, let's get to installing the shelf. Alrighty, so the place of the shelf will be right there. This is a western side of my growth space that doesn't really receive much light because obviously I have a wall there. So I need artificial light, which we will install. I do have some orchids on this ledge. I was thinking to remove this particular ledge, but I think it's gonna be useful, as you will see. And to orient you a little bit, we're right behind my current African violet shelf on the western side of my growth space. Alrighty, so with all of that said, let's get to work. The shelf we're gonna install is called Omar. You can see dimensions here. And funny thing about this shelf, it's actually half a shelf, quotation marks, in the sense that for my orchids, I bought two of them and installed one on top of the other. This one is about, 1 meter tall? Something like that. So if you do want to make it taller, you need to get yourself another one of these and install one on top of the other. They actually fit. So that's what I did for the orchids, but for this side of the greenhouse, I'm only gonna use half of it. There's really no point to make it taller right now, and if I ever so desire to make it taller, I can absolutely customize it like that. So theoretically for this shelf, you don't actually need tools, screwdrivers, or anything of the sorts, not even for the lights. But to make my life easier, I will use a mallet or a soft hammer, because otherwise I would need to kind of bang with my hands, and that wasn't a pleasant experience last time. So I got myself one of these. So apparently they do have a smaller shelf. I chose the longer shelf, and as you can see, you don't actually need any tools. The shelf will be mounted on the support bars using these stoppers, which I find such a good invention. I don't know who invented them, but it's so neat. You'll see what I mean. So I really don't need the instructions because I did this already 2 times, but you do have very clear instructions here. So after installing the plastic legs on all of these bars, it is time to put in the stoppers, which are 2 plastic halves connecting on the actual leg. So you can see that my stoppers are not perfectly cylindrical. They're narrower at the top than at the bottom, and you will probably see it when you actually try to install one. You have to mount the wider part down and the narrower part up. And you do want to install them right above one of these ridges and then try to move them a little bit to see if they're actually in the ridge. Sometimes they will move a little up or a little down, and they will click when they find the ridge. And this is how you will know exactly where to put the stoppers on the length of the leg. All you need to do is count the ridges. So my first shelf will be here. All I need to do is count 3 of these rings from the bottom to the top. So I'll go ahead and mount the stoppers really fast. Alright, so we have the first shelf installed, and I think you know where I'm getting with this. All I need to do is put stoppers along the length of the legs and just install the shelves. Now, if you discovered that you misplaced one of these stoppers, it's so easy to remove them. You just have to put your fingernail in the middle and just pry open. And there you have it. And here's where the mallet comes into place. You might find that the shelf is not straight. And rather than banging with your hand or sitting on the shelf, you can actually use your mallet and do this. Also, you might at some point discover that you didn't want this shelf here, you wanted it lower or higher. Well, to remove the shelf, you obviously need to loosen it up from the stoppers. And that means either banging with your hand, either using the mallet, and do this until it actually comes out. I might go ahead and move the lower shelf, not entirely sure yet, I will see. As I was saying, I will be using this for African violets, but the light will be here. So now that I look at it, I might actually move this shelf a little lower because this is way too close to the lights. So it's a little bit of a process. It's quite easy to move stuff, just a little bit inconvenient. If you want to move this shelf, you don't actually need to disassemble everything. You just need to hold the shelf while you move the stopper down. And I think that's what I'm gonna do now. That looks much better. I will move it around if I so desire after I move the lights and I see how everything sits. So now I think it is time to install some lights. So what I will use today are some LED strips, but they come in this plastic tube. They kind of imitate a little bit the T5 fluorescent lights, but it's pure LED in here, I assure you. I don't have the box for these ones because these used to be mounted on my mirror. I tried to create a sort of beauty guru vanity, and it turns out these things are blinding. So I actually never used them. I have them for 2 years now. I unmounted them from there. They're actually the same brand as the other LED panels that I have on my shelf. 4000K color temperature. Bought them from Leroy Merlin here in Europe, and they are about 1 meter long. I did try them out with this shelf. It's a tight fit, I have to say. They're not going to fit right inside this shelf because you can see we have edges here. They will sit on the edges, but that is absolutely fine. I can go ahead and buy others, but since I have them, I'm not gonna let them go to waste. If I will ever have a setup a little bit more appropriate for them, then I will reuse them there. But for now, they will have to do here. So things will be pretty straightforward. I'm gonna get cable ties and get to work. And would you look at that? We have light. Let's just see how it looks like when I add a few African violets here. I think it's pretty great. It's not blinding light, I have to say. I think it will do the job for African violets and mini phals because they don't really require a lot of light. So I think our job here is done. Not really, because we do have the top shelf as well, which I can actually illuminate as well. I will not be using these types of lights, obviously, because I don't have anywhere to place them, but I will be using my previous lights, which were 2 IKEA desk lamps. And because right up there, I actually have the shelf, the ledge, I can actually position them on that ledge and make them illuminate the first shelf. So let's go ahead and do that really fast. And hey presto, not only do I have light here, but now I have light here as well. And I do believe it's going to be enough. With these types of lamps, you need to be careful that they sit in their socket. Otherwise, they will just fall. They're not actually pinned with anything, see? So yeah, be mindful of that if you ever use these types of lamps. Oh, right, so this is a few days later. My SD card was full and I took the opportunity to just go to the store and purchase myself 2 more so I can use the bottom shelf as well. So I also did a bit of cable management there. It's a little messy. The thing is, you can actually connect these lights. You can daisy chain them through a cable. And as you saw in the specifications, you can actually connect 12 of them on one cable. So you don't actually have to have so many cables. The problem is the cable they came with is very short. It doesn't reach, and I could not find a different connection. But I will find it, I'll order it from somewhere. For now, all of them have their own plug cable, and it's a mess. There's a lot of cables here, but that can be fixed. And one more thing that I actually wanted to mention is regarding electricity and water. Yes, we are going to water these plants, and what I saw on the internet, what I saw other people doing, and it's a great idea, is to put some trays on the shelves. I didn't buy any yet because I need to measure and I need to find the perfect trays. So what I do now, if I want to water, I just get the pot off of the shelf and fill the reservoir in a different place, which can be right here. You might note that I use a pump sprayer, because no matter how careful you are, you will splash water, and no matter how protected these are, it's never a good idea to play with electricity and water. So if you ever want to attempt this, do go for some trays and do try not to splash water anywhere near the lights, because you never know. You don't want to hurt yourself and you don't want to spoil the product either. So just wanted to put that out there. I am on the lookout for some trays that will fit perfectly, and until then I'm just watering outside of the shelf, and that's perfectly fine. But at the same time, I'm very careful not to move the shelf way too much and have something fall over. So it is a little stressful until I find the trays. Alrighty, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe it gave you some ideas of a new shelf. And of course, you'll have links to products down below. You might not have access to these products because, yeah, they're local, but you can get an idea about the specs, measurements, prices even. So do check the description for more information, and you know the drill. Like or dislike this video below, subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos, tutorials, Q&As and other fun orchid subjects, and shelving and display ideas, apparently. And with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!